Alan Doyle was very much helpful with them in giving them, um, some advice and just being a mentor and just helping them, navigate because they knew what they kind of wanted and just helping them navigate. And totally different artistic styles and music and everything, but the common things are still needed to be there, right? You still needed, like you said, they are a band that worked it like a business and did all of those steps and were very, very, very successful, built it over time um and they're still I mean, I don't they're still going individually even though they're no longer as a band. Um Both Alan and Sean have their different careers where they're still performing and Daryl's on the radio
Yeah.
and Bob's got restaurants and he owns Aaron's Pub and so they all have they're still kind of and Bob's involved with Come From Away. So, they still have their creative outlets. They've still very successful in working.
They're too young to stop yet.
Oh, they're way too young. Yeah. They're
Yeah.
way too young to stop. They're only like my age. They're babies.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to watch it, and I'm sure they had people who I remember early days seeing Great Big Sea with the Chieftains and Great Big Sea with other you know, and I'm sure there were some connections made along the way that influenced and helped and gave them ideas of how they could be successful because they were at it a long time. They may be young, but it was a long, long time for that band. And
But they had a 20-year career, yeah.
yeah, that's pretty good. And so anyway, I have kept you indoors for a long, long time. So I did want to mention Diamond House, the event that you have coming up. Can you just explain a little bit what Diamond House is? I kind of know.
It's a facility in Glovertown, which has been sort of given to us as a community by a very benevolent man whose name is Darryl Fry. It was his uncle and aunt's house. His uncle was one of the early entrepreneurs in this town, a guy who was responsible for creating the first fire truck. And his aunt, this fellow's name was Ken Diamond, and that's where the name comes from. And his wife, Aunt Viola Diamond, was the first fire chief. Also, there was notable things about the place. It was a residence of the first town council, and it was the place where the WI started, thanks to Viola Diamond. It was a boarding house in which an awful lot of people came and went, right in the center of town. And it's an old 1937 two-story structure, along with attendant buildings on the outside, which we've converted into things like art studio. And over the years, it's been an art gallery and performance center. And right now, for instance, we've gotten out of commercial, trying to make revenue out of selling art. So it's not any longer an art gallery. It becomes an exhibit place for people who want to exhibit. But some of the things which go on there are music lessons, performances, group sessions such as music sessions that I host or that other people do. It's a meeting place for community things. There's meditation sessions, which have just started there. There's children's summer art and children's after-school art programs, individual. Those two are two different things. And on site, of course, the artists have a studio and residence there. And, of course, we put it to any use that we can imagine. So it's we have the Writers in Winter event coming up on Saturday, February 16th, in which we invite amateur writers, primarily it's focused at amateur writers, to come and read something they've written, and occupy 15 minutes so that they can be questioned or discuss what they have written. And so we usually have, in the run of the day, we might have as many as 15 to 20 amateur writers in. And we encourage people of every level, right down to high school students, to participate. We've had that over the years, and we do it annually, and it tends to be a lovely day where people come in and we provide them a lovely lunch. So Writers in Winter thing starts on at 10 a.m. in the morning, and we don't give up much before 4 o'clock, until everyone gets tired and goes home. In the middle, we'll have a lovely lunch which is provided. That's what that is. Now, we are a performance center. We have a couple of concerts coming up. We have Dave Penny coming on Friday, February the 8th. And on the 27th, we have Matthew Byrne and Sherman Downey coming. They're coming through doing their show in there. And we have an art exhibit going in on the 22nd. That's Brandy Blackwood's art exhibit. And so those are the February things which are going on. Throughout the winter and summer, there's things like guitar lessons, piano lessons, those sorts of things. And so it's a space which is well utilized. We'll put it to any use that we can, actually.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have that. I mean, we here in Lewisport have several different things that venues and Citadel House is the music venue here, and which is every couple of weeks there's a concert up there, but yours is Diamond House is very multi-purpose for all sorts of uses, which is nice to have in a community. That's a blessing right there for a community to have that.
The idea is to make it truly a community center and to not have it be seen as an art center solely. And in that way, then people can take some ownership and utilize it to almost any purpose. Last year, the Women's Institute had a wonderful 3-day event in there in which they occupied every room in the house with their crafts and wares. And so there were more than 100 quilts exhibited.
Wow.
And wall hangings and every craft of every sort that Women's Institute had ever done. It took them 3 days to set up. And it was 3 days in the exhibit, and another few days for them to take it down. But that's the sort of purpose which we love to see it utilized. We can do a lot of things with the space because it's a large space and there are lots of rooms, and we can do many things with them.
Right. So if you just need a small room for something, or if you need the whole house, depending on what activity you are doing, you might be able to.
It can be a meeting center for small groups or large groups. It can be, public event space, and everything from IT or meditation and yoga classes on through to, pull out bang bang jam sessions and parties. And we've rented it out for weddings. And, we've done everything with it. Yep.
That's wonderful. So
it's a good spot.
It's a good spot. So and you keep it going all year round, and have different things happening, which is kind of nice because so many things are for the tourists that are seasonal and for very good reason. I mean, if the do you find getting the audience, getting people to come, is that challenging, or is it starting to become what people do now? Because that can always be a challenge with something new in a community.
Indeed, it is a challenge, but it's something which is building, and people are more and more they're recognizing it. And part of the challenge is PR, just getting the notice of the events out there and be seen, because that's an ever challenging, of course, prospect. It doesn't matter how you advertise, there'll be those people who say, "Oh, well, I didn't know." And the second part of that is just trying to keep things happening there, which people are interested in. It goes back to marketing.
Right. Yeah.
People have to want to come.
It has to have that. I find
you can't enforce a cultural state. You can't enforce a cultural state. You can't tell them they must come because it is their culture and their duty.
I find that there's this sort of, and I moved back 6 years ago, and it's kind of an interesting sort of tension that goes on where people will say, "I remember, when everybody visited everybody and everybody was doing, and of course I do too. I mean, that's what life was like. You just went out and you visited everybody. But in the meantime, then they'll turn around and say, well, there's just nothing to do. There's nothing to do. And I'm like, yeah, there actually is." So it's like there's lots to do. You just got to make the effort and turn off Netflix and get up and go and and do it. And the people are gathering in places, and you've just got to join them. And I have, and that's my, I can't understand that uh, mentality. I could understand it more back when I was growing up, and Friday night. Well, if you were a Tommy Hunter fan, that was the only opportunity to see him. So if something else was going on Friday night and you were a Tommy Hunter fan, you didn't go. But Netflix, you can put off till the next day or the next day. You can Sunday morning you can watch your movie. It doesn't matter. Like
Yes,
times, and even if you have TV now, you can record it and play it later. You don't have to be stuck to that screen anymore. And it seems like the more we have the ability to control it, the less we do. It's like now I
less
have to
people
stay
take the
home.
initiative to actually. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
it's like everything will wait for you now, and you're stuck to it. And it's like, but just shut it down and let's go do some music. Go to Diamond House and see the show that's there. I mean, Sherman and Matthew Byrne. I've seen their show a
Matthew
couple of
Byrne.
times because they do their winter tour, and such an unlikely couple, and it is absolutely fantastic. And I've gone. They come here, and I've gone to that show. I think except for the first year, and sit in the audience thinking about all the people missing it because it's so fabulous.
Yeah,
And
yeah. It's one of
think
the best shows we've ever had in this. Yeah,
it is so good. And and they do sell out. So I mean, people do go to those shows, but still, there's a lot of people who see those posters. They see the ad, it's on Facebook, and they see that, and they just don't. And I think because that show in particular is a broad reaching sort of, like, you have your traditional stuff, but you have Sherman, who's a little bit more, he's got a different um and Matthew has that traditional beautiful voice. And I like, why would you not be here? I don't understand. And it's, if I go and the next year I go again, it's almost exactly the same audience. And
yes, yeah.
it's like, come on, guys, get out of the house. Get out of the shed. But I mean, again, over time, and what I find is you will get someone who will wander in for a show because it's someone they know or really want to see, and once they do it once, you see them come back. It's just
Right. Yeah,
putting their toe
yeah.
in the
And
water and saying, "Oh, this is
and
all right."
that's
Yeah,
building an audience. That's what it is.
building an
And you
audience.
have to do that like one person at a time, and you have to do it, and you have to build a reputation. Whether
Yes.
you're presenting or you're performing, it's the same. It's the same prospect.
And
Yeah.
I always look at what people could be doing. Like when, for instance, I write, and I had a lady message me this morning, and she wanted to know when the book was coming out, and she's talking about the previous book, and I was thinking, wow, like she took her time and spent a couple of hours. I don't know how long it takes her to read, depends on how you read, but she took some of her time. She could have been doing anything else and read that book, and I really, really appreciate that. Like that someone took their time to pay attention to that thing that I made. And I make sure that I told her that, this means the world. Like
Yes.
this is what we do it for. That sort of feedback is the best feedback. And, first of all,
Yes,
you paid
indeed.
your own money to get it, and then you sat and you read it, and this is, you're not my mother. So, there
Yeah.
was the,
Yeah.
and you build that audience by creating those relationships with people, and then they of course go out and tell people, or they share the book, or they do, and that's how you build the audience. And of course making them aware just by practical means, by sending them a note and saying, hey, you were at my last thing, I'm doing this thing. And that part is work, but the audience really, the people really need to start paying attention to how many wonderful things are in central Newfoundland, because I'm never bored. I always find something to do. My biggest problem is, you know, everything all happens at once and I can't do all of it. But there's lots going on, and I don't mind jumping in the car and going to Glovertown or Gander or Grand Falls, or, you know, for something, if it's just a nice way to spend the evening. I'll drive for it, but what better things could you be doing? I just,
That's
I
right.
maybe
Exactly.
I'm biased, but I've always